Max, baby.
Yeah, boy.
Hey guys, it's Gaia Speaks, and we are here on another episode of the Vegas Creative Network, the show, and I'm here with Cody Dades. We're gonna laugh at that because I'm gonna bring up his last name in a second. But how I always like begin all of my interviews is I always say how we first met. And I can't remember if we met in person first at the green room. I don't think we met in the green room.
I think I may have ran into you before, but I knew of you just through social media.
And it was you hitting me up, and it was really early in my journey of the Vegas Creative Network, and you were like, "Hey, I really want you guys to write an article for me in my documentary that I made." And I remember being like, "I don't even write articles, but like, I'll do it. Like, this is a cool thing that someone asked of me, you know." And I remember checking out your documentary, and I was like, "Oh, like, you're very tapped into the community, and you have like a certain uniqueness to how you film things, and you're super young." And I was like, "Yeah, let me write this article out." And then I believe I saw you at the green room after I even sent you the article, and this was like over a long time. It was like a few weeks, maybe more.
It was a process.
It was definitely a process. And that was the first time we worked together. And now we are doing Open Waters, your film debut. And yeah, I'm just so excited to be here. And oh, I wanted to mention your last name because we just talked about that. All these interviews are super real, so I just have to like always mention these things. But I used to just call you Cody Dades the whole time. And at the all-white party, I called you. But unfortunately, you weren't even inside because it was a hookah lounge, it was a bar, it was all that, and he's only 18, which is crazy. Like, you being 18 and like doing so many things for yourself is so cool, and to be so tapped in, it's really admirable. You know, as someone who I feel like I'm newer in the community, and I feel like you've been tapped in. You know, so super cool stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to, you know, chop it up and kind of get to know each other. I feel like you and I have been working a lot, but I really want to get into like your story and like how you started and stuff. Yeah, if you want to talk first about the documentary and how that came about, if there are other projects earlier than that, I would love to know too.
Yeah, originally I started working on like skateboard documentaries and like short films like that, just within my neighborhood and stuff. And then I got tapped in with the great people at Juicebox Entertainment, KP, Cuddlepot, Quasi, you know. And then they were just like, I was just recording for them and collecting content. And then I thought, man, I should really make a documentary about the Vegas scene. Like, there's so much stuff going on here, you know, and use all these videos I've collected to make a bigger picture. You know what I'm saying? So that's how the documentary came about. I stayed in touch with Jerica from Juicebox, and you know, they got me involved with a lot of the stuff they were doing, and then I just collected videos and different clips to create a documentary out of like the scene and everything. And that was pretty much the entirety of that project. You know what I'm saying? Originally being tapped in with Juicebox and stuff.
Yeah, and I guess after Juicebox and that collaboration, what were you looking for? Were you just wanting to, like, after doing your documentary too, or was it like, all right, I want to do a film, or did you always want to do film first? So I know you're a videographer.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like the time between being a videographer and wanting to be a filmmaker, it's like something happens in between there.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's always like stories that I want to tell, stuff that I want to get across, and I feel like with this project, there's a lot of concepts that I've been trying to focus on for a while. I've been working on this project longer than the documentary, so to have Open Waters out and premiered is crazy.
Yeah, so how come, 'cause I remember you came to me and you told me that same thing, like, I have a film that I'm still working on and it's been a while. Like, what made you first, like, what was inspired for you to start it?
Honestly, I don't really know what the original concept of it was. I remember having this idea for an abstract film. I worked with like dozens of other poets and narrators, and I just knew like I want to finish this project. Like I got a really good idea here, you know. And after I worked on the documentary, I got right back into it, this project. And so I hit up KP from Juicebox, and I knew he was doing slam poetry, so I said, "Can you do a piece of poetry for my film?" You know. These couple concepts I threw at him, just about the journey of an artist and waters, and he mixed it all together with the metaphors and everything, and came up with what we have.
Yeah, that's super cool. When it comes to Open Waters, like the journey of an artist, why was that the first, I guess, prompt of your first debut?
Well, because I mean, we can all relate to it, you know. I feel like I know what it means to me, but everyone's gonna get something else out of it, you know. We're all gonna have different views on the project, you know. One person's gonna see it one way, and another person's gonna view it another way, and I think that's what's beautiful about the project in itself.
Yeah, and the fact that it's abstract too is cool, and I think you have like such an interest for abstract, and I think you like, since us talking about the film, you always talk about just wanting people to interpret things, you know, in their own way. Is there like maybe another director or, you know, inspiration kind of where you got that from? And
not in particularly. I feel like a lot of directors have that though. They want people to interpret their work differently. You know what I'm saying? We don't want everyone to have the same view on our project, whether that be a painting or a song or a film. We want different reflections on it, you know?
Yeah. So when did you first pick up a camera?
Man, I mean, when I was like 7.
Dude.
Like a long ass time ago. Like it was a camcorder, you know? I don't even think it had a SD card in it. I was just aiming at shit.
Were you like, is your family involved at all in film or videography?
No, my older brother, he's an actor and a bodybuilder. So originally I just followed him around and recorded shit for him. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah. How old were you when we recorded for him?
Man, originally I was like, I had to be like 14 or something. You know what I'm saying? Cool. Just tagging along to different road trips to LA and San Diego and different photo shoots he was doing for his businesses. And I was just there, you know? I was just, you know, sponging all the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Absorbing it all.
That's really sweet. I'm curious to know, how do you go from, you know, videos to films, and then, you know, you wanting to have a film debut, but why do an event around it?
Because you gotta have an event around it. You know what I mean?
That's how, bro. That's like the best answer.
You gotta have it. You gotta have it. You know, how else are you gonna promote it? You know?
Come on,
you gotta
bro.
have a premiere. If you really wanted to impact the community around you, you gotta have a premiere. I mean, every film has a premiere. So if I don't have a premiere for it, what am I doing?
Dude.
I pretty much just wasted my time making the film.
Wow.
You know?
And again, thank you for even choosing me with that, you know? Like, I remember, again, when I first started and you had hit me about the article, I was just like, in a sense, because it was so early, I was like, why would anyone want an article written from me, you know? And even when you came to me with the event, like, you've always been so, like, you know, I don't even know how to say it. Like, you really admire, you know, people, and you always bring people up, and you're very positive about everything, you know, that you talk about. And again, it's been very admirable to see you in that too. And even with like an events, I just really can just see your passion for it, because it's easy to just do work and then put it out and then call it a day. But, you know, we are really, no, seriously, you know, to the art of marketing, the art of an event is to bring the community together, to have the community know about it. So the fact that you even know that right now is crazy.
I feel like so many people focus on blowing up instead of just making an impact within their community first, you know?
Yes.
They're all worried about going number one with their song or having some sort of major budget for a film. If you could just create something that impacts your town and your community first, then, you know, that's how you're going to get well known and have a fan base, you know? So
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask that too. This isn't your first event though.
No, not my first event.
And I want to know, like, because you did another event that's so like opposite. We're doing something like cute and water and, you know, like poets. And you had other events, but I would love to know about that a little bit.
It was a lot more of just like the younger teens and a lot of the more raw artists in the city that we had come out to, like more of like house parties we were throwing and stuff. Me and my partner, Gorilla Sound Machine, you know.
Shout out. He's right behind the camera. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just bringing together all these raw artists and raw talent throughout the city and just trying to have a cool ass party, you know what I'm saying? And just trying to get eyes on them, you know what I'm saying? And create a spotlight for people of our generation, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But this event is definitely something way different compared to that. This is more of like a formal premiere, a little bit more classy, you know?
Yes.
We got slam poets and musicians, you know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, it's definitely a change of pace for sure.
Yeah, and let me know if you could talk about this, but I know you have another project coming up this year that, again, it's like a whole other genre.
I want to work in as many genres as I can get my hands on, you know?
Really? Okay.
So I want to be all over the place. I want to have a bunch of different films that people are like, damn, he directed that, and then he directed that, and then he directed that. Woo. And it's like none of them even are in the same genre or the same thing, you know? So that's something that I really like want to do. I want to be all over the place, you know?
So in that case, would you want to... I mean, I feel like this is like a no-brainer, but I want to know more. Like where? Outside of Vegas? Would you want to do films? Would you want to... Like, what are you thinking?
No, I'm going to be here for a while.
Yeah?
For a long while. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere.
That's what I'm talking about, too. I'm not even mad. Like, if you wanted to leave, like, I'm like, hey, that's okay. But,
no, I'm not
period.
Going this city has my heart, you know?
Dude,
so I'm not going
talk about that. Like, why? You have LV on your hat. Like, come on, bro.
Born and raised here my whole life. You know, I don't know any other city. I mean, San Diego, it's cute. You know what I'm saying? But this is my city right here, you know? I ain't going nowhere. Like, I like the art scene here, you know? I don't want to move nowhere else. Like, this is the best time to ever live in Vegas. So why would I move, you know?
Yes.
You know, Vegas is not for everybody. So I understand that. And at times I'm like, fuck, I live in Vegas, you know? So, you know, it's not for everybody, but I love it. And
yeah.
You know,
did you always like Vegas, living here?
I mean, it was always intriguing. I live in Las Vegas, you know?
Yeah.
As a kid, I even understood what that meant. Like, holy shit, I live in Las Vegas. Like, it's weird and cool at the same time, you know? Because the narrative is no one's from Vegas, you know what I mean? So it's odd and cool simultaneously.
Yeah. So then in that case, I'm born and raised too. I think we know that.
Born and raised.
And period. I think you mentioned one too, like, I don't want to work with anyone in this project that's not born and raised. And I was like, hey, look, we here.
Yeah, just born and raised.
Yes, sir. It's so real. But I want to ask, because I feel like the art community is so like, I feel like everyone has so many different opinions about it. Some people are like, there's no culture. Some people say like, I mean, we know that there's a culture.
Yeah,
obviously. I mean, I literally walked in here. Shout out to Spacecraft, by the way. We're there at the studios, and I feel like I recognize everyone that I came in. Like, I was literally like, oh my gosh, my girl. Oh, he's in the We got Scorpion back there too. Shout out to Scorpion. But yeah, like everyone is like super like tapped in my opinion. But I would love to know what you feel about it though.
Man, I think we got a great community here. I've heard a lot of people dog on it, you know, doing the documentary. Some people were like, nah, man, we don't have a community. There's not a solid community. But, you know, I got a rebuttal for that. I don't think that's true at all. I think, if anything, we have the most tight-knit artist community, because I know it can't be like this in LA, and I know it can't be like this in New York, because there's only 2 million people living here, you know what I mean? And there's only a fraction of that even
Small
give
world.
a shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the people that do give a shit, we're all connected. It's all a network, you know? So
Yeah. I want to know too, like, what are your, and not just like short term, but like, what are your long term goals? Like, what's something that you really just want to do?
I think the overall goal is to just be one of the most creative directors in film of my time, you know, even outside of film with music videos. I want to be looked at as one of the best, but one of the unique, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I have my own avant-garde style when it comes to everything I do. And, you know, it's a big part of what I do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to change my style because one or two people, you know, have an issue with it, you know?
Yeah.
So I just want to be one of the most unique artists of my time and my era, you know, and be good representation for my valley. I think that's ultimately what I can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I want to ask too more about your videography because you said you followed your brother around, but how did you get into music videos and that scene? And you also, if you can, you're always talking too about like the underground scene.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's what you do also with music videos, or like, what's that connection there?
No, I definitely incorporate the style of like the underground and everything. Like that's, I mean, everybody who's an artist out here is technically underground, you know?
Yeah.
Like no one has any label representation. So I want to add that to my style with the camcorder and the grittiness of what it's like to live here, not be a tourist. We've seen it, you know, 1,000 times this city. You know what I mean? We're walking through the alley. So I think that my cinematography has to have that style of the camcorder and the roughness. You know what I'm saying? Because Vegas is not all glitz and glamour. And the people that have lived here for more than a decade, we know this. You know what I'm saying? So my art has to reflect that.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you literally still use a camcorder, and like you first started with a camcorder when you were 7 too. I think that's really cool. Do you plan on your style changing at all?
Not for the moment. Of course, as I go into more scripted projects, I'm going to use, you know, bigger cameras, better lighting and all of that, but it's still going to have that overall Cody aesthetic, you know?
Yeah. What was like your, I don't know, the collaboration that kind of led you to do music videos? Like, how did that come about?
Man, I was just hanging out at the skate park, you know, with all my friends and stuff, and somebody mentioned something about that they rapped, and I was like, man, I mean, I do that music video for a dub, and then we went down to Fremont, and then, you know, we just shot it.
Like right there?
We just on the spot. We just hopped in the car, me and my younger brother, and we just went down to Fremont and filmed this music video for this guy, and, you know, and that's kind of where I molded the aesthetic of all my music videos, even, you know, today, you know?
And when was that? How long ago was that?
Man, that was like 2.5 years ago now. Yeah.
Okay. So it hasn't been the longest time too.
Yeah.
And you just started freelancing too, right?
Yeah, I've been doing freelancing for a minute.
You've been doing that.
I've been doing it for a minute.
At the same time, yeah. Okay. And how's that going?
It's going great. You know what I'm saying? Business is booming.
Period. Because I remember we were talking about freelancing, and I used to freelance too. I still do. And it could just be such like an up and down thing sometimes, and just like, you know, doing certain projects that may not be like in your interest and stuff. And but I just wonder, like, how do you kind of keep pushing, you know, especially with such a positive attitude as you do, and still want to do like your own personal projects on the side?
I mean, freelancing is rough. It is not for everybody. Like, you know, it is up and down. And one week you're going to have a whole bunch of work, and the next week you're going to be like, where did everybody go? You know what I'm saying? Like, holy shit, my pocket is running low, you know? So it's not for the faint of heart, but I'm going to stick with it. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I'm very passionate about, you know what I'm saying? So even with the lows and the highs, I mean, this is everything that I've always wanted, you know?
So in an ideal situation, would you may not even choose, but like, would you be like a videographer or a filmmaker?
I mean, I feel like you can do both simultaneously, you know what I'm saying? Like, but ultimately the goal is to be a storyteller and to be a filmmaker and to have, you know, big budgets and to have that be my thing, you know? But I'm going to always want to shoot music videos, you know what I'm saying? And I'm always going to want to do advertisements and stuff. But first and foremost, I want to be a storyteller, you know what I'm saying? you know,
Wow.
and get concepts across and narratives across. You know, that's the ultimate goal here. You know, since I was a kid, since I picked up the camera, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Only until recently did I realize how realistic it really is. You know what I mean? Like it's not as far fetched as it seems when you're, you know, a kid and you're watching all these $1 billion movies and you're like, holy shit, how am I going to be even able to do that? You know, you just have to start with a documentary and start with this project or that project, and you know, it will create your journey as an artist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It will unfold in front of you.
Yeah. Even with the documentary, I want to know like why specifically you chose the people you interviewed, and like, because I want to ask too, like, is that your first time with the documentary?
No, I've done other ones, like ones at skate parks that were more of us like rough drafts of ultimately what became Music in the Meadows. You know, no, I've interviewed people before, and I'm not the best at it, but I've had other experiences with documentaries. You know what I'm saying? That's how I got started.
Yeah, and yeah, but why did you pick those particular people? I remember like Juicebox was in there, and
yeah, because Juicebox I was already connected with, but just a lot of the artists, I found their stories and their personalities very interesting. So I was like, man, I got to interview these people on the spot. 90% of it was on the spot, and you know, it was just because I found it very interesting, and I feel like they were a great representation of Vegas and the diversity of artists we have out here. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that's primarily what it is.
Yeah. I want to know too, a little bit about maybe like people that you aspire to work with. And that could be local, that could be big.
A lot of great artists in this city. It's hard to call anyone out in particularly, but yeah. I don't know. I would like to work with a lot of people on the First Friday movie. They seem like they got an interesting thing
shout
going
out to
on.
them, bro.
Yeah, a lot of great actors in that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that I bumped into doing the documentary. Very interested in seeing that. You know, there's a lot of artists that I'd want to do a music video with. It's like too much to name, to be honest with you.
Totally.
Vegas has, I mean, so many tremendously talented recording artists. You know, I don't even know where to begin, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's something you got to stay in tune for. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. Are there any like big time people you want to work with, and not necessarily like music videos or like whatever directors?
Man, I would love to do a music video for Paris, Texas.
Yeah, you mentioned them.
A rap duo out of Los Angeles. Would love to do that. Big Earl Sweatshirt fan, so would love to do an Earl Sweatshirt music video. You know, yeah. Yeah. Those are the two main artists and groups that I would love to do a music video for.
Yeah, totally. Cool. I also wanted to ask too, I feel like when it comes to events, I feel like the venues are super important.
Yeah.
And I just have to ask, like, I think when we first had talked, Taverna was like the first place we had mentioned.
Yeah, that was
like the last place I hit up, and the only place that was like a go. And yeah, like, why Taverna? Like, what made you like it and your experience?
Man, that was like the hub for me doing the documentary. I'd always be coming in and out of that coffee shop, grabbing coffees in between interviews, and Tech Alley was over there.
Shout out to Tech Alley, man.
I would just attend Tech Alley. I'm not even in tech really, other than the camera, but I would just, you know, just soak up the culture we have in Vegas. We have so much culture.
Yes.
So I would just be outside, and then I feel like really, you know, definitely one of the hubs of the art culture out here is Tavernas. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a bunch of stuff going on all the time. So I was always in and out of there. You know, it's one of the best establishments out here. You know.
Wow, it really is, and like, just like Jeff being so open to like having all of us. Like, I know a lot of people who do events there.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to work with him. And the fact that like when I hit him up, he was like, "Oh yeah, I know Cody." You know, I'm just like, this is just like, it's just part of the community. And I also wanted to shout out Josh too, because Josh runs Tech Alley, and I used to go to Tech Alley too. Yeah, shout out to Josh.
Oh yeah.
The fact that you know Josh too, like, it's really crazy out here.
Yeah, man. No, I'm outside. With it. You know what I'm saying?
For those who don't know what Tech Alley is, it's literally like a big meetup for anyone who's in tech. And I was doing it for my sales job, and that's before Vegas Creative Network. That's before all of that. And before I was painting on anything, and so it's really cool that like we're literally gonna do an event where Tech Alley is at. You feel me?
I feel like we're doing an event where it kind of all started for me. You know what I mean? Because
Wow.
I remember being a kid and actually going to the arts factory, and then you know what I'm saying, and just being in that area that it would eventually become like my stomping grounds for the
Wow.
documentary. So it's kind of a full circle moment for me.
Yeah. Wait, so in that case then, since you've been going since you were a kid, how do you feel? Like, I feel like Vegas is crazy growing, and especially the arts district.
Yeah.
And like, how do you feel about that?
It's improving, but let's not pretend that it hasn't always been here. You know what I'm saying? The core of it and the heart of Vegas has always been here. You know what I mean? So, whether it's the Raiders moving here or the A's, the essence of Vegas has always been here. So.
Wow. So you don't even feel any way about the growth?
No, obviously, it's growing, and obviously, it's becoming like a major city more so, than ever in the U.S. But we've always been like this. You know what I'm saying? We've always been in movies and always been mentioned in songs. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like, people are pretending that we just came out of the dirt 5 years ago. Like,
dude,
we've been here, man.
The reason why, come on, man. I just haven't heard like anything positive about the growth, and I feel like Vegas that's what it is. You feel me? Like it's a one street of just casinos, bro. Like that's just one part of it. You know what I mean? So it's like, and how many people come every year, you feel me, just to experience like what we have here. And I feel the same. I feel like the growth is just improving things, if anything, improving in terms of adding, like
absolutely
in the arts. Of course, like negative things, of course, but like in the arts district, they're just adding like more restaurants and like
adding more things,
Yeah.
But we have to preserve that it is the art center, you know what I mean? That it does become like a brewery hub, or it becomes like mostly just restaurants. Like they need to keep adding galleries over there and performance spaces. Like for the longest time, the only place you could perform was somewhere on the Strip or on Fremont, and of course you're not going to perform there unless you're a major artist. You know what I'm saying? So there needs to be more venues for local artists to perform, and I want to add to that and create my own spaces and my own events for locals to have their opportunity.
Yo, would you ever have your own venue?
Oh yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
What would you have in it?
What would I have in it, man? You gotta have a coffee bar in it. You gotta have a coffee bar.
Dude, the Taverna inspiration, like I love it. Yeah. Yes. And then what else would you have in it?
Man, like it would just be a stage. It would be a place for people to perform and hang out. You know what I'm saying? Like a lounge, for all artists. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're a performing artist or not, just to chop it up. The reason why I have so much admiration for places like Taverna and the Arts Factory and Recycle Propaganda is they give people an opportunity to get together and congregate and discuss the art and discuss the culture in our city, And if it wasn't for places like that, this dialogue wouldn't even be happening. You know what I'm saying? So those places are a breeding ground for our city, So they need to keep that alive, and there needs to be more spaces like that.
That's really awesome. Yeah. So you're planning on doing events?
Yeah.
As you move forward?
Yeah, more events.
What kind of events would you have?
I think I'm just gonna, obviously we're doing open waters, and this is more of a formal, more of a, classier event. Definitely a switch up from what I've done, but I think I'm just gonna stay down the lane that I've been doing, more of the punk aesthetic, more of the raw vibe, because that's what Vegas is. You know what I'm saying? And the more they want to say it's just like it's the next LA and it's all glitz and glamour, it's really not. You know what I'm saying? So I want to definitely keep that vibe alive, because that is the reality of Vegas. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that's like so cool. Like I am rooting for you with that. Like whenever that happens, like let me know.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I will
definitely.
be there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask too, these days, how do you kind of keep yourself out there in terms of like, connecting with new people and, new projects, new collabs?
I think I think a lot of it is the events and then just doing the freelance, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, you got to stay consistent. You know what I mean? You can't stop and then expect where are the gigs coming from? You know what I mean? Your name hasn't been out there in a minute. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep going. You got to keep your momentum. If you want to keep more gigs and keep going. You know what I'm saying? It's all about momentum. That's really all.
100%. I know we always have really positive things to say about Vegas too in the arts community, and as we should. But I also want to know too, do you think there could be any improvements? And that could even be on the government level. That could be on a local level. You know, what can we do right now, kind of thing. Like, what do you think when I say that?
Man, I think a lot of these artists just need to have pure intentions. You know what I'm saying? Like again, your goal can't be to go mainstream. It has to be about just like your art. You know what I'm saying, in your community. And if it's not about your art in the community, then I mean, I kind of don't want to work with you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the wrong intentions, and that's not how I carry myself. You know, and I like to work with artists like that. And 9 times out of 10, those are the artists born and raised here. So
yeah. Yes, sir. So, do you find yourself like, we did talk about other states though, and other cities we would like want to go to, and like, because I always find it interesting. Because for me, for example, you know, I love New York. I love New York so much. Like, wow. And LA, of course. I feel like that's just like easy, you know, answers to say. But I always wonder, like, what do you feel? And like, where would you want to work maybe for a little?
I mean, I think Chicago would be cool. I feel like it has a nice culture, you know. I feel like it has a very negative reputation just because of, you know, some of the violence that goes on out there. But I feel like there's a lot more that, you know, like a lot more art and a lot more museums that Vegas doesn't necessarily have. And I feel like that would offer me cool experiences, you know what I'm saying? Same with New York, you know. I'd like to go down to Miami sometime. I feel like that's a vibe.
Come on, dude.
You know, so I want to hit up the East. I've been all over the West, but I want to go East.
Dude, we have to talk about that. You haven't been to... You've only been to literally the west side of the
Southwest,
the U.S.
That's it.
So what are the states?
I would say, man, I would just say like California, Arizona, Nevada.
Dude, I just feel like whenever you make that trip to New York, to maybe even like Paris, or, you know, anything.
Paris, California.
Paris, Texas.
Paris, Texas. Yeah.
I feel like it's just gonna change so many things, because you already have such a like grand mind, you know, and like what you think, and you know, and I know you want to do everything here, and you literally can. You know, Vegas is a crazy city, but it would be really cool for you to also like go and see New York too. Like, I would love to get that update whenever you head out.
Someone get me a flight out to Rome ASAP.
Rome? Is that your place?
I want to go to Rome.
Let's talk, bro. Let's talk about your heritage, yo. You know, because I told you, like, what kind of events would you like to do? And like on a different day. And you were like, I would love to do this for my people. And I would love for you to just even talk about that.
Yeah, I feel like the representation of Mediterranean people has been boiled down to like just the mob, you know, and pasta. So if we could expand more on like really what it is, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Sicilian people in general, I feel like the whole like core of our culture is collaboration. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Collaboration with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, we're smack dab. We're right there. I feel like that's why the Renaissance was so important in Italy, because it wasn't made up of one group of people. It was made up of people from all over the Mediterranean. You know. Wow. And I feel like since we've got to the States, they've took that narrative away. You know what I mean? And just boiled it down to like the mob and stuff.
I'm curious to know, because you're the first person, or one of the few people that I know that are Greek, and how do you feel about that community?
I mean, we make up 0.3% of the Nevada population. Ooh. I mean, to be honest with you, I've never met another Greek person outside of my family.
Saying it's like I haven't too.
So like, you know, as much as I want to represent and be a great, you know, artist for my city, I want to do the same thing for my heritage and my culture. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all we can do at the end of the day, you know, is be great representation from where we come from culturally and geographically, you know?
Were you, like, as you were growing up and, you know, being Greek and possibly never meeting anyone else that's Greek, does that have any influence in your work?
No, growing up, it was very much traditionally American. I feel like, again, like a lot of our culture was wiped away just because, you know, like that's the trade-off, you know what I mean, coming to America. I feel like, yeah. But as I got older, I got more into my heritage and more into like learning my own culture, you know. And there's definitely parts of Open Waters that is definitely very much inspired by abstract Italian filmmakers, you know.
No way.
Prior to sound being in films, you know what I'm saying? I feel like those are a lot of pioneers in early abstract films, you know.
Okay.
Heavy inspiration for sure.
Did you like grow up watching those? Like, did your
Nah,
parents?
that's something that I had to like get into on my own,
No
you know. Same
way.
with like a lot of things about my culture, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah. And that was just like off of like curiosity as you were growing up.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like, how come like we're not expressing more of our culture? You know what I'm saying? Because you know, it's not like we've been here for that long. We've only been here for a couple generations. So I always want to know more about the story, you know,
Yeah.
and like how did we get our name? Like that's not even a Greek name. So
Yeah.
you know, like there's a lot of story to be told. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what life's about is just the story. You know?
100%. That's awesome. I wanted to ask about. I feel like we have to talk about your age because it's always the thing for me because I'm just like, again, I really find you to be very mature. I find you to be very serious
Mhm.
about your craft,
Mhm.
and you know, it's not always being easy
Yeah.
to be serious, especially so young.
Yeah.
And again, you're around a lot of people who are serious, and they may be like way older than you as well, and um how is that, you know, being young and not even being able to go into deuces but getting nominated for an award, but you're just not old enough to even go in the venue? Like, that's
Looking back on
crazy.
that, it was funny. I was watching the highlights of that event, and I was like, "That's actually pretty funny." Because
Dude.
that's been the whole narrative of my young career is that I can't get into this place to record a set because it's a bar, or I can't get over here because you know they got this or that. But you know, there's always a couple places that let me in, and you know, a couple places that you know push the boundaries for me. So I was able to do my thing, but that has been the early narrative. So you know, it is what it is.
How do you feel about I know that you have like peers around you that your
Hmm.
age,
Hmm.
and like how did that come about? Like, how did you meet
Yeah.
your people?
Again, a lot of it was just meeting at a lot of these establishments that helped promote other artists. I met my really good friend Andrew Gorilla Sound Machine at you know, for the culture, you know, just stuff like that to bring the community together, you know, and yeah, just doing the documentary. I met a lot of great people doing that documentary,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah.
Yeah. And moving forward, do you find yourself like, what do you want to like get into? Are there any like scenes that you want to get into that you haven't?
Uh, at the moment, I like where I'm at. Like I
Okay.
like where I'm at artistically. I like my style. I like the people that are around me that I'm working with. So right now, I feel like I'm in a pretty good pocket creatively. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So obviously, being comfortable isn't always the greatest thing for an artist, but you know, I think I'm good where I'm at.
Okay, so we are in the middle of, you know, open waters
Yeah.
marketing,
Mhm.
and we're on the way there. And I just wanted to ask you, like, how do you feel, you know, coming up to the film, and you know, we're doing our things, you know, every day.
Yeah.
But how does it feel?
I really love this project. It's my favorite project I've ever worked on. You know, it's a story and a narrative that that you know anyone can relate to, and everyone's gonna have their own perspective on it. I think that's a beautiful thing. Without a doubt, one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. You know, so
Yeah. And even like through the events too,
yeah.
like the event process.
Overall,
Okay,
like this is one of
so
my
sweet.
favorites. You know what I'm saying? And you know, through the trials and the tribulations of this happening, like that just makes the story. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's been a very interesting time making this one for sure.
Yes, I love that.
You know?
And to start, like, you know, wrapping things up, I just wanted to ask you, what should people look forward with other than open waters when it comes to
More
Cody?
events, more films. We got clothes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so,
talk about it.
You know, I'm in every industry. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all over the place. You know, I'm all over the place.
100%. And again, Cody, like, as I've been saying, like, I really do find you to be so admirable in this, and to be so young and so passionate about what you do. And even in the attitude that you have, it makes me inspired to go harder in what I do, because I'm just like, you know what, if he can do it, like, let me go harder. And and as long as you're there, like, I want to also match your energy when
I
it comes to
appreciate that.
us doing events together too. So
Absolutely.
it's been such a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy we got to know each other a little bit more other than
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it for our episode today. Shout out to Cody. And shout out to Andrew, shout out to Scorpion, shout out to
GSM.
Spacecraft, and this is the Vegas Creative Network, the show, and we love you.
Ba, 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 ba. Celine Dion.